Welcome back to Capitol Dateline, Florida Speeches. We're covering the ceremony designating Senator Andy Gardiner, Republican from Orlando, as the next president of the Florida Senate. Senator Gardiner sat down with us at the TV studios of the Florida Cable Telecommunications Association to answer questions about his priorities. Senator, we've just heard and seen many of your colleagues saying some awfully nice things about you, nominating you to become the next Senate President after Senate President Don Gates. Can you recall some of the highlights that maybe you were thinking and maybe you were feeling?
Well, I think, for me, obviously having all my family there, we had my mom and dad and my brother and in-laws, and it was kind of a family reunion. But also having Senator Simmons and Senator Bean, we actually all came in the House together in 2000. We were part of that large freshman class. And that was just very special to know that we're now in the Senate. And you never can be really prepared for the actual vote to have your name called out by your colleagues. It's incredibly humbling, but a very special day for our family.
Well, we're going to see some excerpts of your designation speech. Let's go to the first one.
I believe that we should work for a workable, comprehensive, statewide policy for protecting Florida's natural resources. We all know that Florida's economy is tied to tourism, but there is no reason why it cannot be tied to ecotourism. Last year alone, recreation in Florida generated $38 billion in consumer spending, $2.5 billion in state and local revenue, and it accounted for over 300,000 jobs and $10 billion in wages. We're all known for our theme parks, but we should be known for our rivers and our lakes and our bike trails all across this great state.
Well, you kind of spoke with a new term there, ecotourism. I hadn't heard that before, but what did it mean to you?
Well, growing up in Central Florida and Orlando, we've been very blessed with some great bike trails. One is the West Orange Trail, which really was started by then Mayor Linda Chapin, who's a very good friend. And I was approached by a lot of bikers that said, we really need a coast-to-coast bike trail. And what we have proposed and what we're looking at is more we learned there is so much that we as a state, we should be competing with the Californias and the Colorados when we're encouraging people to come here, not just to our theme parks and our beaches, but having trails and opportunities to really enjoy what makes this great state so beautiful. So we've come up with some ideas and some funding proposal, and I think it's something that the Senate, at least, is very interested in, and the governor has expressed some strong support for as well.
So beyond theme parks and beaches, there are some other assets. What are they?
Well, nature trails, if you look at our parks, a good example is, especially in Europe, you have the ability to, through travel agents, actually schedule bike trips where you would fly in, the bike is there waiting for you, and then you do your trip, and then you're taken back to the airport. We should be doing that in Florida. I mean, if you look at what we have from the resources and the parks and the opportunity, and our vision is that at some point you'll be able to get on a bike in Titusville and ride across the state of Florida to St. Pete. A lot of those trails are done, they're just not connected. And so that's been our commitment. And if I can leave the Senate with a real vision for that type of tourism, bringing people here to really enjoy what I grew up with, I think that's a pretty good legacy to leave.
Let's say on the downside a little bit, some of those rivers and some of those bodies of water, they're not in such good shape right now. You think about Lake Okeechobee and some of the problems with the runoff, and some of the other rivers that you knew when you were a kid. They're not in the same shape they were at that point in time. So as Senate President, I'm sure you want to help clean up some of those bodies of water, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Speaker Designate, Steve Christofoli, who's a good friend, we both represent the Indian River Lagoon area. And we both have been meeting with mutual constituents talking about the issues of Indian River. And we, on the Senate side, we have Senator Dean, Senator Simpson, and others that are coming up with, I think, a comprehensive water policy that not only talks about the regulation of our waterways, but also the cleanup. And I've spoken to the Speaker Designate and let him know the Senate is fully prepared, and we want an overall comprehensive water policy, but also a cleanup policy. And again, I think that's something that the taxpayers need, and that's what we intend to do.
I know you talked about the economic importance of tourism in your remarks, but it bears saying over and over again, how important is it?
Oh, it's absolutely the lifeblood. I mean, we're diversifying our economy. This governor has done an incredible job of bringing new companies here. But at the end of the day, we are a destination for families all over the world. And what we want to do, and the governor set a really important goal of 100 million visitors. There's no reason eventually it couldn't be 200 million. But part of that's just diversifying the tourist options as well. It's not just the theme parks, it's not just the beaches, but it's the rivers and it's the lakes. And for those of us that were born and raised here, I want my kids to see the Orlando that I remember and the Central Florida I remember. And I think that's the commitment the Senate will have.
All right, let's go to the next excerpt.
Our unemployment is below the national average. Our private sector continues to grow, and our state has been paying off debt and saving for the future. We are headed in the right direction, and we have the right governor to lead us in that direction. It should be a goal of our caucus to continue to look for areas where we can improve the business climate for businesses here in the state of Florida. What opportunities there are for targeted tax cuts that we can bring more businesses to the state of Florida. That should be a goal of our caucus, and it's something that I personally feel very strongly about. Under the leadership of Senator Dietert, Senator Huckel, we've begun the opportunity, started the process now, of looking at our business incentives, enterprise zones. And again, as our economy continues to grow and it gets stronger, we should look at opportunities for all individuals. Maybe it's a tax incentive. Maybe it's changing the enterprise zone. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
It is. It is.
It really is. Jobs, 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 diversification of the economy. You clearly advocate the continuing need to support economic incentives to attract businesses and grow jobs. What are some of the continuing incentives you would support, but maybe expanded incentives?
Well, if you look at the targeted tax cuts that we do, QTI, some of these programs are very, very good.
What are QTIs?
Quality Tax Initiative. It's sort of a toolbox for the governor and for Enterprise Florida and Grace Swoop. We want to continue those. What we're really interested in is all the enterprise zones that have been created for years, and there's 50 or 60 of them probably. They all are sunset in 2015. And what we have talked about, and talking with Senator Dietert and Senator Huckel, is maybe we allow them all to sunset. Maybe they've done what we anticipated, maybe they didn't. But why not look at doing something completely different? If there's an area of the state that we can say this is a targeted area that we want to bring a specific type of business, we want to give the flexibility to the governor, whether through an enterprise zone or through Enterprise Florida, to make the deal happen. And that's something that we're just kind of looking at. In my previous life, I ran a Chamber of Commerce, the Apopka Area Chamber of Commerce, for 10 years. And it's all about business. It's all about bringing the new businesses in. And if you look at our unemployment below the national average, the number of jobs, 400, 500,000 have been created. We're on the right path, but we want to do better. And that's what we're looking at.
Let me follow up, because some people may not really know what an enterprise zone is. I know you want to use this opportunity to maybe redefine what they are, or expand them or whatever, but what is an enterprise zone?
An enterprise zone is generally, it's created by the legislature, and it's usually a local legislator who has an area that they want to try to incentivize businesses to move to. And so it is essentially drawn out in statute that this is the enterprise zone. If you're business A and you move to this location, you will receive a specific type of tax cut. And there's different types of tax cuts. It could be that you're targeting a particular business. Some of those have worked well. And some haven't. Some of them just did not create what we anticipated. And what I've said to Senator Huckel and Senator Dietert is think outside the box. Look at each one of them. Maybe we can do something better. And, I'm all for, here's a great opportunity. Let's think big and maybe we come up with a whole new incentive package to encourage businesses to be there.
You will take this job on in 2015 largely, and then the next year. What do you see as the trajectory, can't say the word, of Florida's economy between now and then? You see it kind of gradually improving so that when you take over as Senate President that you're going to have a positive economy to work with and maybe good revenues with the state, or how do you see it?
Well, certainly we have the good revenues now, and a lot of that is the policies of this governor. President Gates and Senator Weatherford, I think, have done an incredible job on the tax cuts and really having a vision for Florida. The issues going forward, our economy is getting stronger, but there are issues that businesses will face, specifically the National Health Care Plan. When does that fully take effect? All of the mandates, Washington keeps delaying some of these things. That's a real concern, is if you're a small business, how are you going to be impacted by that? And ultimately, that potentially affects the revenues of the state of Florida. So while things are getting very good, there are some things outside of our control that would cause us some pause, but we're certainly heading in the right direction.
All right, let's go to our final excerpt.
We have started the process of looking at what is the special diploma. For those of you that are not familiar, the special diploma is the opportunity for a child to walk across the stage. Unfortunately, when they walk across that stage, there's very little they can do with that diploma. Of all the education reforms that we've been involved in, and there have been a lot, and they've been great, and they've been wonderful, the special diploma has not been addressed since the 1970s. 1979 to be exact. I was 10 years old. I believe that we should work to eliminate the special diploma. And now that we have fixed and addressed the IEP, we can start that process of a roadmap for an individual with disabilities or a child that's in foster care program to make that transition into college and into work. I also believe that we should look at the programs at UNF and FIU. Speaker Thrasher and I had a chance to tour the UNF project. We should look at the expansion. So when individuals take that new diploma, maybe it's a specialty diploma, that they can go to a UNF or an FIU or a UCF and learn a trade and have the ability to make a difference. It's a quality of life issue, not just for the child, but for the family.
Senator, during your designation speech, you spent some time discussing the special diploma and your view that it may be time to end that program. Talk about that.
Well, we have been looking at the special diploma for some time, and what we have seen, what's happened is if you go back to when Governor Bush was governor, we put a lot of resources and time into early intervention services for individuals with disabilities. And now we are reaping the benefits of that, but now you're starting to have these kids that have been included in a regular classroom, but they still may be getting a special diploma. And the reality is these kids are getting to that point where they want to go to a four-year institution. They want to go to a vocational training. They want to go to a community college. 30 years ago, they would have just sat home. I feel like we have an obligation to look at that special diploma, eliminate it, and could you come up with a path for a child and a family that you can say to them, if your child accomplishes these specific goals, here are the programs that are going to now be available so that they can live independently and they can have a job. And we've started that process. Senator Legg, Senator Stargell, Thrasher, and Galvano, we've been regularly meeting about a new vision for individuals with, as I like to say, unique abilities. It's not always a disability. It can just find that unique ability and bring it out and help them to be successful.
As I understood it from preparing for this interview, this new road, this new program to take the place of a special diploma might apply also to disabled veterans and foster children. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, Senator Dietert, I think, has really been a champion of the foster care, the children in that particular program. We've made some changes to allow them to stay past 18, but there are just a number of opportunities. What I would envision, and again, is whatever that situation is for that child, the family or the child in foster care is given, here's your roadmap. You know, here's what we think, if you can accomplish these goals, the state of Florida will be a partner with you. And that's really been our vision. And again, I can't say enough about Senator Dietert really opening our eyes to that particular group of individuals that are just so special. And of course, the individuals with unique abilities. We want them to know the state of Florida is with them and we're a partner with them.
You mentioned that you and Senator John Thrasher went over to Jacksonville to the University of North Florida and saw a program there that caught your eye, maybe as the type of program that someone who was on track to have a different kind of experience than they would have received from just receiving this diploma. What did you see there?
Well, at UNF is a good example. There's a waiting list of individuals trying to go into that program. When we started this dialogue a year or so ago, we weren't necessarily reinventing the wheel. There have been leaders that have gone ahead and done this, and UNF is one, FIU, UCF has expressed an interest in doing this. And essentially what it is it takes an individual with a unique ability and puts them in a college campus atmosphere. And part of the experience is the inclusion into normal life in a college campus. The other piece of it, which is just as important, is having the affordable housing piece so these individuals can actually live amongst their peers and aren't just bussed in for the day. And UNF has been a leader. What we want to do is really codify that in statute so that every parent, every family knows whenever that diagnosis is, here's the roadmap. Here's what we as a state will do to help you through this incredible journey that you're on with your family.
Well, any particular goal as you enter into the 2014 session? We've got about 30 seconds left.
Well, I can't say enough about President Gates. I mean, he has just been an incredible president. I said it in my designation. If there were ever a definition in the dictionary of a Senate president, there'd be a picture of Don Gates. And he's been so open to me and allowing me to learn. And if I can be half the president he has been, we're all in for a good time.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.